Hello, welcome back to the Line Star MLB DFS show. Today is April 20th. It is Tatis-mas. We have Fernando Tatis back. And before we get into the whole slate, first, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you're not already a subscriber to Line Star, make sure you subscribe. It's only $29.99. Gets you access to all the props, all the DFS, all the good stuff, the projections, optimizer, props AI, as I have shown you right here. And now let's get into the fun. The fun of this slate. You know, we only have a 5-game slate here, but I actually think this slate is more fun than some of the bigger slates even. There's a lot of ways to go. Obviously, Fernando Tatis is back. He's going to be extremely high owned. I don't think right now our ownership is fully taking into account how high owned he may be. But let's jump into the pitchers. First, Senega is obviously going to be the highest owned pitcher today. 40% owned, 10.3K, but he's just been really good. He had a little trouble with Oakland, but before that, 2 really good games. We're starting to get some good data on him. 30% K rate over his first 3 starts. His FIP, however, is a little scary. 4.87 FIP. That's not what you want to see when you're going to pay for a guy in the 10Ks, but it is a small slate. There is limited pitching, so I get it. He probably still is my favorite pitcher on this slate just because of his raw upside. With 30% K rate and San Francisco striking out a ton to start the season, I think you may have to go here. 27% combined K rate. Just understand that ownership is going to be a little tricky today. Senega, going to be the highest owned pitcher. And then Contreras, likely the next highest owned pitcher, and he's just fairly cheap. You know, the beginning of last season, he was absolutely crushing for multiple starts in a row, kind of fell off towards the end, but he's been pitching decent to start the game. Another spot, though, 4.68 FIP over the last 5, so very similar to Senega, yet Contreras is 4K less, so that's why people are going here. Only a 19% K rate over the last 20, but that's down to 13% over the last 5. So there are some reasons here to get away from Contreras. He just hasn't been striking out enough guys to really have a ton of upside, but with his price, you know he's going to pitch a little deeper into the game. And he has a decent matchup versus Cincinnati. 18.5% combined K rate. You know, this is kind of the situation you'd expect from a pitcher that's 6.4K, where he's just kind of meh across the board. Now, Sean Manaea, definitely overpriced. I don't think he should be pushing 10K, but he is in a decent spot here versus the Mets. And it seems like he may be figuring out his form a little bit. As you can see here, we got 4.3 FIP over the last 5 and a 28% K rate over those last 5. So that's really the reason I think that he's 10K, is that he has looked a little bit better in recent form. Now, if you go to the last 20 starts, 5.5K, 21% K rate. He just frankly was bad last season for the Padres. And this is what is, you know, working itself into this. So I don't love him. I think he's a little high priced. It's, you know, quite a leap of faith, but 24.3% combined K rate can absolutely get you there, especially on this slate. So now we got Matt Strom. Matt Strom's probably one of the safer options as a SP2 today, which is really weird to say. He had 2.96 FIP through the last 5 starts. You know, decent K rate over that time. He's been a decent pitcher. His StatCast data is a little scary, but he is probably one of the safer options on this slate. And it's versus Colorado, who Colorado offense has been good versus lefties recently, but they do struggle when they're away a little bit more, and this game is away. The Cubs, Dodgers pitchers are going to be super low owned. The weather in Chicago there is some rain forecast throughout the day, but it should be clear for the game. But there are strong winds, makes it a home run derby. So ownership there is going to be low. As you can see, we have a lot of 9s and 11s or 10s for game total. So I definitely like that. Now let's flip to good old FanDuel. Pitchers, Manaea coming in the highest owned on FanDuel, 8,600. That makes sense a little bit. As we said, he does have some upside in that K department. It is a decent matchup. The Mets have been hitting pretty well recently, though, so we'll see about that. I really think on this slate, I would likely be going Senega or Manaea on FanDuel. Probably not anywhere else. Waka is interesting. He's had one really good game and then got absolutely blown up. And then the other game was decent. But last game, he just got crushed, allowing 7 runs, only going 4.1 innings. So I can kind of see going to Waka, but, we just don't know which Waka we're going to get there. Now, let's jump into some stack attacks. And obviously, first we got to talk about how DraftKings absolutely blew it. Fernando Tatis is $2,000. And so because of that, his ownership is going to be insanely high. I would expect his ownership to be up into the 40+%. And those Padres stacks are going to be getting in there. Yes. All right. So I think our ownership on Tatis right now is a little bit low, and thus the Padres stack is a little bit low. I would expect this probably to be more in the 120, 130 range, just because Tatis alone is going to command a lot of ownership. So let's get back into the stacks, and we'll figure out our way to talk about San Diego a little bit more. But right now, the highest owned stack is coming in at Philadelphia, which is really surprising for me. Not that they're in a bad spot. They are in a decent spot here versus Feltner. 2.11 fantasy points per plate attempt, 5.2 FIP over his last 20. So I understand why people are going here. I am just shocked to see they are the highest owned. I would expect if it's not the Padres, mainly just due to Tatis, that it would have been the Dodgers or the Cubs. Both Dodgers and Cubs are in really good spot. They have the highest game total on the slate, and the winds are blowing out. And if you know about Wrigley, when winds are blowing out there, this stadium plays more like it's in Colorado. It plays home runs, play up big time. So I think ownership is going to go there. Now let's check to the highest projected. Now, highest projected stack, we have the Mets as a projected stack. Now, a lot of that comes into Sean Manaea. He was terrible last year. Are we going to get the Manaea of, say, 2 years ago when he was actually a good pitcher? Or are we going to see more of last year? We really don't know how that's going to go. So because of that, our system is taking in those last stats. And frankly, he was terrible. So it is populating with the Mets being a good stack. And they very well could be. They're also going to be pretty low owned. So I don't hate going there. I frankly totally understand it. Now, if we go to value stacks, of course, we have the Padres at the top. Really, it's just because Fernando Tatis is there at 2K, projected at 10. It's really going to push that value up a little bit. Next, we have, in the same game, we have the Diamondbacks. I think the Diamondbacks are in a really interesting spot. This team has some power, has some speed. They can score a lot of ways, and Waka just hasn't been great so far. If we look at his last five, 7.11 FIP, high whip, high ERA, he hasn't been good. The one thing, though, is over his last 20, it's a 4.2 FIP, which is decent. So we don't know which Waka is going to show up. If it's the good one, Arizona's not going to be great, but there is absolutely chance that they blow him up. And this team, this Diamondbacks team, just figures out how to keep scoring runs, keep winning games. So I like them. They're pretty cheap. And now if we go to the ceiling aspect, we have Cubs and Dodgers. And this is kind of why I expect a lot more ownership on these two teams, especially the Cubs. Cubs are going way under-owned right now, so they are definitely a stack we should be talking about. Now, I wanted to bring up this for you guys. Now, we can see some bullpen data. Arizona's bullpen's been terrible, so with that, I think this stack is absolutely in play. Ryan Nelson has actually been a decent pitcher. He's really good versus righties, okay versus lefties. And so the lefties in the lineup are the ones really going to get to him likely. But Tatis being at 2K, it's kind of a free square. I think the only reason you don't play Tatis today is a game theory play, because he is going to be coming in 40, 50% owned in single entry, smaller field tournaments, probably 60, 70% owned. Only reason you don't play him is because it is baseball and there's a chance he goes 0 for 4 or only scores, say, 5 points or something like that, and 5 isn't going to get you there. It's not going to kill you at 2K, but it won't let you win a tournament. So I got to like the Padres. Favorite stacks today: Cubs, Dodgers, Padres. Philadelphia can sneak in there, and then Arizona. And pitching is kind of a mess. But I think you probably got to go with either Manaea or Senega and take your chances. You guys have a good one, and I will talk to you guys soon. Happy Tatismas. Bye.